What exactly would you do to my phone to turn it into a zombie on your botnet?
Well, most likely it would actually be what would you do?
Oh, what would I do?
You as the user would download an application that has a built-in vulnerability that can be exploited or takes advantage of something in the operating system. Same way with the PC. It's a lot of the same attack vectors. A lot of what you see is client-side, and that would be the main attack vector for any sort of malware on the phone as well.
You're right. So you see so much more client-side than like a remote exploit on Android. How do you just put something in the marketplace?
Put it in the marketplace or outside the marketplace. There have been applications in the past where it's like, we can't put this on the marketplace because it's so awesome. Download it and install it directly as root, and then you don't even have to do any exploitation. It's all about fooling the user into thinking this is worth the risk.
Right. I mean, you don't really get a whole lot of warning either when you install an application on Android. It just tells you, oh, it wants to be able to use your phone, wants to be able to open your contacts.
And when you're talking about exploitation, though, I could make an application that doesn't say I need to use SMS or I need to use your phone, and then once it takes advantage of a vulnerability and exploits and then has root, it doesn't make an API call. It works in the base OS, so you wouldn't know that I was using SMS at all. So even those security functionalities wouldn't apply.
Well, what if I hadn't rooted my phone? I mean, granted, if you got it into the marketplace and it's not like an APK that you would download separately, so you don't have to like tell them, oh, go into enable debug mode or enable third-party sources. But what if I'm just a regular Joe user? I don't have a rooted phone. I get your application from the marketplace. Is it game over?
Well, if your phone has a vulnerability locally, then yes. Like for instance, the SynPage kernel exploitation was actually 2009, but people still haven't upgraded, and that worked on Android as well.
Well, what versions?
I believe it was 2.9 and below.
2.9?
Yeah.
2.9. I think 2.2 is Froyo. 2.3 is.
I must be thinking the European versions.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But so even modern versions though, like, well, it's sad though because so many carriers don't upgrade. I mean, I'm stuck on Eclair because Samsung won't get around to.
Exactly.
Hook me up with Froyo.
It doesn't upgrade very quickly. So even if a security patch is put out, a lot of your users won't get it immediately. So there's a large window of opportunity there if something is found.
All right. So once you've got it on the phone and it uses an exploit like you were talking about, what are you talking about? The base layer of the phone? I don't get that because wouldn't I, detect? Oh, hey, it's accessing my contacts or doing whatever it's doing, right?
No, all that's based on the Java API calls in your user space stack, but underneath there's, on Android anyway, it's really just Linux down there, kind of dumbed down, and iPhone, Mac OS is down there, and then there's Windows Mobile's a Windows platform. It also makes it really easy for malware writers to move into the realm of smartphones because it's very similar to what they've been doing on PC. Just program it in C and compile it with an ARM compiler, and you can do all the same things, except you have a GSM modem that you can take advantage of. So it's just extra functionality with less security and little PC in your pocket.
Well, yeah, but it's like totally different though because it's like it's mobile. It's like not and more mobile than like on the scale of like a laptop because this guy is always on.
Right, exactly. It's always on, and you can think of a smartphone as like a server, public IP, no firewall, no filtering, security of 15 years ago. Because your phone number is basically a public IP that anybody can access through the GSM modem. Like, for instance, if I sent you an email, it would go to spam. If spam filtering's gotten pretty good, but if I send you a spam text message with a link that says, "Here, go download this," you're going to receive that message. It's up to you whether you click on it, but you receive every message.
Well, yeah.
So it's a new way to do like spam.
Well, it's like email in the sense that you don't have to. It's not like if we were Facebook friends,
right.
You could only message me if we were friends on Facebook. Email is like an open system, and you're right. The phone system is based on an inherent trust that you only give your phone number to people you know. Otherwise, why would they be calling you? I mean, eventually, sometimes you get the oh, sorry, wrong number, right? But I mean, aside from that, nobody calls you that doesn't know you. Yeah,
well, I mean, numbers are possible to be gotten. You put your phone number in when you go to a website and sign up to order pizza or something.
So are you saying that you use the phone number as your method of controlling your zombies on your botnet?
Actually, I do have the phone numbers of all the zombies. The master would, but none of the other zombies know any numbers. It's all different cryptography. A public-private key system because if a single zombie is compromised by a security researcher,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want them to be able to find out anything else about the botnet. So no numbers are stored
Oh, okay. Well, how do you communicate with the zombies?
through SMS.
Well, then wouldn't I just, notice that I have, a text message saying, turn on camera, locate GPS. I mean, I'm assuming those are the kind of the functions that
Not at all. You would not see those messages because I have my botnet program sitting in the base OS level. It works as a proxy between the GSM modem and the application layer and sees all the GSM traffic that goes through, and is thus able to authenticate messages as part of the botnet. This is a botnet instruction. It's from a valid master, and then it just swallows the message, does the functionality. The user never sees it. If it's a regular text message or a phone call or anything, it just goes straight on through, so the user won't notice anything is up.
How do you filter the text messages before they come through?
It just sits at the proxy. Basically, it sits. We have the modem. I have pictures in my talk, and
Yeah.
then there's the serial line that connects to this user space, and I just stick a little proxy layer in here. So when the message comes in, it hits me first.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, "What is this?" and send it up if it's
Oh.
not mine, and grab it and not send it up if it is, and tell the modem it was received, and everybody thinks
Well,
everything's fine.
Aren't there text messages that are like that anywhere that that carriers use? And there was a big talk about that a couple Black Hats ago, where there was like they would show up on your iPhone as like a couple of squares or something. But it was
Yeah.
exploiting I forget the name of them, but they're basically SMS messages used for control
Right.
that the carrier uses rather than for hey, what's up?
Yeah, it goes to a local port on the phone that tells the phone what to do. Yeah.
Can you
this
do
is
those?
very
Can you
similar.
craft those?
Yes, it's a very similar method of what I'm trying to do there.
What are those called?
I believe something about port.
They're like
something.
control messages.
Yeah, they're control messages, but they go to a port on the phone. Yeah, I looked
So
into
do you
those.
use those, or do you just send it in a regular SMS?
I just send it in a regular SMS.
So do you just send the commands from your phone?
From any, you
Well, I mean,
It
not
does-
your phone,
right.
but you'd want to be a little sneakier.
right, prepaid SIMs, stealing phones, Google Voice, Skype, a GSM modem hooked up to a computer. Possibilities are really endless. If you can
This
send
is
text
phone
messages.
freaking. This is totally phone
yes,
freaking.
it is. We've gone full circle because there are estimated to be 2 billion cell phones in the world by 2012, and that's a lot. Everybody's going to have one,
Yeah.
and they're getting
And-
more powerful every day.
And it's always on and it's always on you, and it has so many capabilities. Like,
Right.
what are some of the capabilities of your botnet?
Well, what I'm actually going to be demoing is I'm going to send spam messages. It can also do DDoS, but I don't really like to show that because
Yeah.
it's a
DDoS
big
is
thing
it
right
only
now.
has one. It
Yeah.
only has one purpose: being malicious.
Yeah, that's not as fun to show.
Yeah,
it's
spam's good
it's
for
more
client sides.
interesting to show. It's more interesting for the crowd to see the spam. But what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to have the master phone and then the slave phone and then some random phone that's going to receive the message. It's from the master. I write to the slave, send it a message, and telling it to send spam. Nothing shows up on the slave phone because the proxy grabs it. But then
Even when it sends out the spam, it doesn't show up in their sent box or anything.
nope.
Nice.
It's all done from
Well-
below all of that, and then it'll show up on the other phone that's just, there, but it'll be received from the slave phone. I put them all in the address books together, so it'll say like slave bot and master bot. So
What about some of the other
same.
underlying features of the phones? Because you're talking about Android in specific with this. All Android phones, or at least most, have cameras. All phones have microphones.
Right.
Most phones nowadays have Bluetooth and GPS.
Well, the code I'm releasing is going to be under GPL, and I've taken all the payloads out, but people can make their own. So if that's something you want to do, turn on the microphone, turn on the camera, those would definitely be within scope of what I've done. You just need to hook up the API call and the payload.
And that's crazy to think that it's not something where it's like, oh, you've got to, burn this custom ROM. It's just an application that takes advantage of a vulnerability. So
Right.
the vector of attack is much wider than, I don't know. I'm just always a little paranoid about, and I know Cyanogen must be a great guy, but some of those, you see them on the XDA forums and stuff. Oh, check out this ROM image. You
Yeah.
know, when you install a ROM image,
Right,
from someone.
Right, someone, if you download their ROM image after tomorrow, could have my botnet code already in it.
Yeah.
'Cause-
And then
so-
they could be using your phone to send SMS spam.
Yep, straight up. just like that.
Nice.
Never know about it.
Now, what about other platforms? Is it just
I'm-
Android right now?
Well, I had an Android, so that was what I worked on, but since I've started getting some press about this, I now have 3 Android phones. So if someone
Yeah.
gives me an iPhone, I've written the iPhone code, but I haven't tested it because it doesn't have the same emulator kind of things, and it's hard to emulate with the GSM modems anyways, because the emulators don't hook up differently because they're not a real modem. So if I get an iPhone, I will test my iPhone code and release it, but the same thing will work for Windows mobile platforms and iPhone.
Well, just what are you saying? Like the underlying, the principle of it, just
Yeah, the principle of using the proxy and grabbing messages, that will work. I have tested it that much that I know that it will work. It's just writing the code. The naming scheme is a little different on each platform, and then you have to code it a little differently, but yeah.
What about the carriers? Isn't there something that they can do to like thwart this? You know, can they say, oh, well, all of the spam that are coming from these zombified phones have the same SMS header, and we're just going to block that at the source or something, right?
Well, the SMS headers will actually look the same as any other message, so as they do that, they could indeed crack down on whatever they wanted. That's a lot of, on the flip side, it's only the carriers who can see these messages. It's not like IP where, you put logging on your firewall and then all the packages coming in and out.
Well, isn't there something that you might be able to, like, is there not software for Android that'll allow you to see, like, what's going on under the hood in that regard? Like, a packet sniffer of some sort? I mean, I've always thought, there's all of these applications that you get, and you just say, I agree, whatever, when you install them, and they could be phoning home. And
Right.
some have been discovered, too, have been.
Right, I talk about that as well, but that is something I talk about for mitigations. A small tripwire at the base OS level, because the phone could just say, you don't need to be doing that, because your end users, a lot of them aren't going to be fooling around in the OS. Not everybody roots it, so if it sees a change in the OS, wave a red flag there, something's up, and alert someone. So that would be one way. Also, yeah, the carriers would need to be in on any takedowns of cell phone botnets over GSM, because they're the only ones seeing it. So
Could you spread the worm by SMS somehow? Could you send like payloads to other phones?
One way, the SMS spam, put a link in it, hey, click on this.
Just
Same
like
client
a regular,
sign.
just like a regular client
Exactly.
sign. Yeah.
And also, there have been examples of remote exploits that led to root iPhone. The IKB was one. So it happens.
Yeah, and especially when you're sending it from someone else's phone,
Right.
does the SMS message show up as from their phone number?
Yes.
Well, then you
So it's
already
very
have their
hard to
inherent trust.
Right.
So if you have it send to, say, everyone in their
In the contact list, then they'll.
yo, I just found the coolest game. It's way
Exactly,
better. It's like
yes.
Tetris, but on crack. You got to try it.
So it's likely they will then click on it, and it's the same as PCs. They're a lot
You're right.
like
This
PCs.
is like
this
Outlook
is where we're going.
macro spam from the 90s.
Exactly, it is. It's like security has gone back to the old days, because now we have this
Well,
phone that's like the old server.
Yeah,
No
yeah.
firewalls, no filters. We don't have any of that technology for it yet, and it's coming into its own. Everybody's using it. It's like a computer now.
Yeah.
But we just aren't in the same level with security. We don't have as much experience with it, and new technologies with the GSM. So hopefully my talk tomorrow will help get some more conversations started on that.
Yeah, that's absolutely mind-boggling. It makes me so happy as, somebody who grew up with like the red boxes and the beige boxes and stuff,
Yeah.
to see it come around again, freaking having a resurgence just because our phones are getting so sophisticated. But it really is hacking. It's just, whatever the device may be. And that's just so cool. Where do you see it going next with the botnet stuff? I mean, you're just doing this as proof of concept.
Right.
You're doing this for your
I'm
company.
doing this as proof of concept, hopefully, to get people thinking about, if I can do this, bad guys can do it too.
And can you write something that would mitigate this? Could you write a piece of software for Android that would check to make sure that you haven't been owned?
Yes. I could write something very similar, use the code that does the attacking to do the defending. If the attacker can watch, the defender can watch too. So,
Yeah.
yes, I could write something to
And
mitigate this particular attack, but as that gets mitigated, a new attack,
Well, that's how it goes.
That's
It's
how
all
it
back and
goes,
forth.
yeah.
Well, so is this open source?
It is, yes. I'm releasing it under GPL tomorrow.
Where can people get their hands on it?
They can get it at my website. It's Germ Noobs, GRM Noobs with zeros and others.com, which I'm putting that out tomorrow. My talk is at noon, so it'll be up, I think, right before then or right after.
Very, very cool. Well, thank you so much for talking
Thank
to us.
you.
It's been a pleasure.